man. We're excited. We can't wait to get going. It's a long journey, and this is the most important game because it's the one right in front of us. But our guys are excited. I could see it this morning. Today we'll get them loose, get them moving, and then we'll get after it tomorrow. Obviously a big challenge with this team. Coach Reed, I've got a ton of respect for. He's been one of the most consistent winning coaches in this league for a very long time. And really all that he's got on that staff, not to mention the players that they have over there. They got a number of guys that, present challenges for us. Certainly starts with their quarterback. I think this halfback's pretty good. Kelsey, we know about. I think this offensive line has improved. And then defensively, this is a fast defense. They run, and I think 32 is a bell cow over there at linebacker. So, but man, we're excited. Can't wait to get this one going. Questions?
Coach, everywhere you look, it's grit with these Detroit Lions. That's what this team embodies. How does this team fully embody the grit mentality?
Well, I think that we won't sacrifice our identity for anything. And, I think we're a pretty resilient group. I think that's where I believe it all starts, because for us and for anybody that's been around this game, we're going to hit some hard times. And it's the teams that can come out of that the other way, and that can come out the other end unscathed. And I think that's what this roster's built for, because every team goes through it. And we're going to have, I believe, we'll have our ups, but when we hit some rough spots, this team is built to handle it, and we'll come out better.
We talked to you earlier in the offseason about this, but you look at the starts the last 2 years, 1-6, 0-8, and you constructing this roster, or even going through training camp or anything, was anything different or emphasis placed on starting the season out stronger and faster, and not put you guys in hope?
No, I think that I think some of that also bleeds into these joint practices we had with two different opponents. I feel like you're able to solve issues that much faster. I've kind of alluded to that. I think that helps. I think we've done a lot more situational work, which, these early games, I believe, you've heard me say this, but it's a team that makes the least amount of mistakes, not the most plays, that wins. And I think that'll go a long way. And certainly your conditioning, which I feel like we have is, I don't feel like anybody will be in better condition than we will going into game one. I think we're as prepared as we can be. So, no, I think we hone in on the things that we do, and I think those will serve us right, and we'll see where we go.
And what do you think are the biggest keys to meeting the high expectations that this team has outside of the building and obviously inside the building?
Man, all we got to do is focus on what's going on in this building and what the film says. The film doesn't lie. And as long as we, as players and coaches, man, we trust that, the good, the bad, the ugly, the all of it, and take it for what it is, the reality of it, not the perception of anything else, we'll be just fine. We'll be just fine.
You're not only opening with the defending champs, you hit on it, one of the most consistent franchises in football. I was looking it up. Since Mahomes has been their starter, they've never averaged lower than 28 points a game this season, which is pretty remarkable over 5 years. So what is the starting point to slowing down that offensive juggernaut and making sure you don't get into a toe-to-toe shootout with them?
Yeah, look, I think we need takeaways. We need takeaways. We got to convert on third down on offense, and we need takeaways on defense. I think that's what we have to come away this game with, and I think we'll say that all year long.
The way your secondary not only was constructed, but I guess the way it evolved through training camp and kind of the way the pieces have fit together. You've got Kirby and CJ in the back end and Branch making plays in the nickel. How confident are you that the turnovers are going to be there at a different level this season?
Yeah, I feel very confident. I do believe that we've got some playmakers back there on the back end, and and so I think we're much better suited than we've been here to come up with some. Man, you get some tip balls, overthrows, get a hand on a ball that we're going to come down with those, and not only there on the back end, but I think we'll have the ability to squeeze the pocket on these guys, and and just really all year, I believe we'll be able to do that with our front, and so that bodes well to getting some takeaways. Those two things.
Sorry. This roster compared to 3 years ago, you and Brad have both talked about how much different it is. Where do you think it's made the biggest gains?
Depth. We have more depth. Linebacker depth, D-line depth. I think those are the big ones that show up. And that goes a long way because that helps your special teams too.
Brad told us how you guys spoke about how you have taken your medicine over the last couple of years, if that's coaching the Senior Bowl or Hard Knocks or whatever. If you maybe go back a couple of years before you got here and think of what you wanted to do here and this vision you had with Brad too, how pleased are you with where it's come now?
Yeah, very pleased. You always, I think you start with the end in mind, and then you got to go back to reality. But you have this vision of where you want to go, where you see it going, and what it's going to take to get there. You don't always know the timeline, but you got a lot of work ahead of you, and so I think we're both very pleased. And I think so much of it is, I just go back to this. It's yes, there's an upgrade in talent, but man, we really believe we have football players. We've got good football players on this team, and that's the game that we're playing. We're not acquiring talent; we're acquiring football players, and I feel like we've got the most amount of those that we've had in 3 years, which gives me a lot of hope.
How soon before you think Mosley can help you? Obviously, he's off the top.
Man, he's really we just got to take it as it comes. He'll get his first work with all of us out there today, and then he'll get a little bit tomorrow. And it's tough for me to say right now, but he's progressed well. It's a credit to him. He's put a ton of work into it. He's a grinder, and what bodes well for him, he's smart. He's played the game, and he's pretty instinctive, and so he can. I think he's got a chance to catch up pretty fast. Does that mean this week? I don't know. But we'll just take it as it comes.
A year ago, you were being a little cagey about Ben Johnson and whether he would actually call the plays.
Cagey.
I thought you would. What has he? I mean, he has to have exceeded your expectations, I would imagine. Is that true? And how has he grown in the year that he's been the play caller?
Yeah, I can't say that I'm surprised by what he's been able to do. I always thought a lot of Ben. It's been. I've had a lot of faith in him. I've known him for a long time, and there again, I think it helps when he and I have the same type vision offensively, and that helps me with him. We see the game very much the same way, and to that, he's done an unbelievable job, and he's really grown a ton over a year. But I can't say that I'm surprised that he was able to take it where he did last year. I think a lot of him, and I still think he's got room to grow too. The test with being a coordinator is certainly every week's going to be different. We're going to have some injuries. We're going to have some people down, and that falls into, all right, with what we've got now going into this game versus this opponent, what's going to give us the best chance to move the ball. And like I tell him all the time, it's not always going to be about, the yardage or, I need you to put up 30 this week. There's so many things that go into play. I mean, our coordinators know every week I go on there and say, here's how we're going to win this game. Because I see it with 3 phases, Their job is, they got one track mind. How do we move the football? How do we stop the football defensively? But there's a way to win a game, and so sometimes that means you have to play the game a little differently offensively, and use your defense or special teams or vice versa. Use the other 2 units. So, I don't want to say you put a governor on a unit sometimes, but I think you play to the strength of what you're getting ready to play versus them.
Goff has gone like 324 passes without throwing an interception. How do you find that line between not making mistakes, but also taking a few risks and taking a few shots?
Yeah, look, I think for us, you know, you've heard me say this. I tell golf, man, he's very much a piece of the puzzle here. He's not. It's not the end all be all. You know, we don't need you to be a Hall of Fame quarterback out there. We just need you to run the offense, be efficient, make the throws that are there, be accurate when you pack, because that's what he does well. Get us into the right play. That's all you got to do. And so with that, hey, cut it loose. You know, we don't really talk in terms of, hey, you know, be smart, blah, 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 because I think you do. You start to, man, you know, I think you can create a little fear if you're not careful. So for us, it's, hey, the play is there. You know what to do. We've repped it out here. Now cut it loose. Play football. You know, I think where those little things come in, man, I break the pocket. I'm on the run. Make sure you tuck the thing away. Understand somebody's coming. You know, look, there's going to be things that happen. There'll be interceptions this year. I mean, that's the nature of the game. And sometimes those will come up. And you got to put it behind you and go to the next one. So we don't want to coach out of fear.
In basketball, the cliche is make them go left when you want to, you know, stop a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Is there equivalent with Mahomes? Is there a make him go left strategy that you want to enforce to, I guess, weaken what he can do?
Make him go backwards. and never turn around where he can throw back that way, just that way. That would be about the best way to sum it up. Yeah, look, this guy he's tough, you know, and that's the easy answer to all this. He is a highly competitive, highly instinctive, aware player, and he is the engine in this offense. Everything runs through him. He makes it go, and then around him, he's got these pivotal pieces, 87 being one of them. And man, when you're all on the same page like they are, and they have communication without saying a word, you know, it's tough. But there's a way to, you know, there's a way to I think limit what they do a little bit, and it's going to take every one of us over there defensively. And it's one thing, you got to play your keys, do your job, but then when the play breaks down, you know, God, we got to stay alive, and you may have to stay alive for 6-7 seconds, and you better find out where 87 is when that play breaks down too. So, but no, he's as good as they come. He's as tough as they are to play. He's a great player.